Hey, welcome to a video on expert Minesweeper strategy. I hope you've watched some of my previous beginner and intermediate strategy videos. If not, I will have links to them in the description or whatever, and if I can figure it out, maybe here on the screen somewhere. And in this video, we're going to be talking about counting, specifically advanced counting, which sounds stupid, but is actually very helpful. I talked briefly about counting mines and knowing how many mines are left in the game and how that can help you in my fourth intermediate strategy video, which I will have a link to as well. And that one was basically just about in corners, there's a very common situation where if you know that there's only one mine left, for example, then you can know that the covered mine that is farthest from the corner is the mine, etc. You can watch that video and see more about it. But counting often helps out in other situations as well, but it's slightly more complicated, so I'm putting it in the expert section. As I mentioned in that intermediate lesson, counting is not for when you want to go really fast. If you're going for a speed record and there aren't any patterns or anything, and you're up on a cluster that you have to guess at, you think, but maybe if you counted, then you could figure it out. If you're going for a speed record, obviously just guess. This is for if you want to maximize your win percentage. So, with that said, let's get into it. Here we have a screenshot of a game I was playing. I apologize because these situations are kind of rare, so to show them off rather than play through a game until I find one, I'm just going to use screenshots of games where they happened. So this is just a static screenshot. I can't flag or uncover any of these squares. So, and also it works best to have them in this weird format just so it doesn't move around when I move my thumb around on the screen. Sorry. All right, let's actually get to it. So here, there's 20 mines left, so we obviously know there aren't 20 mines in here, but counting actually can help us figure out exactly where the mines are when just looking at the patterns wouldn't. You could probably do a bunch of guesswork, or not guesswork, but trial and error, put a flag or a question mark on one of these and see where that leads you, and if it leads to a contradiction, then you know your original flag was incorrect, but a slightly more efficient way is to count. So what do I mean by that? Well, let's start down here with this 4. It's touching 4 covered squares and 2 already marked mines. So we know that 2 of these covered squares, that the 2 of the 4 covered squares it's touching must be mines. And then up here we have this 2 and this 2, which are each already touching 1 mine, meaning that one of these has to be a mine. So we know that there's 3 mines in here. 2 somewhere in these 4 and 1 in these 2. All right, that's not super helpful, you might be thinking. But if we parse this cluster slightly differently, we can see that this 2 and this 3 mean that there must be 1 and only 1 in these 2 squares, and this 4 means that there must be 2 in these 3 squares. So 1 there, 2 here, that means that there's 3 altogether in these 5 squares, and we already determined that there's 3 altogether in these 6 squares, so that square must not have a mine. So you can go ahead and click that one, open it up, mark that as a mine, because this 3 will then only be touching 1 more covered square, so obviously that'll be the mine, and you can go from there. So that shows you how very helpful counting mines can be. So here's another example. Here we can count this way. So here is a situation where there are only 4 mines left, and that is key information here. So this 1 is obviously touching 1 among these 3 squares. This 2 is touching 1 here, so running total 2. This 3 is touching another 1 among these two. That's a running total of 3. And this 3 is touching 1 here for a running total of 4. So again, among these 3, these 2, and these 2, we have 4 mines, and there are only 4 mines left in the whole game, so we know that that's where all of the mines are, meaning that this one, and this one cannot be mines, because we already found all 4 of them have to be in these 4. So that's very handy. You can quickly then determine that if, for example, that one's not a mine, then that has to be a mine, and you'll quickly win the game. So very exciting, and it all comes because of your ability to count the mines. One quick note, which I will reiterate later, it can be complicated because sometimes you can overlap with other numbers. So if you tried to count starting with this 2 and noting that among these, what's that, 7? Yeah, 7 squares, there have to be 2 mines, and then 1 up there makes 3, but then, you know, where would the 4th mine be? Somewhere among one of these or something? But you can't say it has to be one of these 2, because it might already be overlapping there with the 2. So when you're counting, make sure that you're counting sets of squares that do not overlap, if that makes sense. And here I have actually marked that mine there, and in this square you can, this screenshot, you can see that all 4, see, this is why I need to be in the edit mode, why all 4 of these have to be safe, because that one has to be a mine. And these green squares are marked green because I'm in Minesweeper Go, a great Android program app for playing Minesweeper, and it has a great hint engine that can tell you where safe squares are or where mines are if you're stuck. So I use this just to illustrate again that all of these must be safe. So here in this screenshot, you can see it says use magic wand to move forward. What that means is I asked Minesweeper Go here for a hint just to see if the algorithm for determining where mines and safe squares are could handle this situation, and it turns out this algorithm couldn't. It thinks that in order to survive you need to use the magic wand, which is another function that Minesweeper Go app has that allows you to reveal where a safe square is. So it's sort of cheating if you need to do that. But it turns out that the algorithm here is incomplete. And I'm not saying that at all to knock the algorithm or the app. It's a fantastic app with a really, really, really helpful algorithm for determining where safe squares are. It's taught me a lot. But in this situation, since Minesweeper is NP complete, I assume you can't ever have an algorithm that's 100% perfect. This algorithm falls short, and we can learn that by counting the mines. So this is a beginner game. 4 mines are already marked, and so there's only 6 left. And we can notice quickly that this 4 is already touching 1 mine, so of these 5, 3 must be mines. And same thing here, this 4 is already touching 1 mine, so of these 6, 3 must be mines. But that means if there's 3 here, and then again not overlapping, 3 here, that's all the 6 that are left. So obviously this square is safe, this square is safe, and this square is safe, and this square is safe, and that square is safe. So you may still get to a 50-50 have to guess somewhere later on, but you can actually make a lot of progress here and uncover at least 5 squares, these 3 down here and these 2 up here, and know that they're all safe. All right, here it's a pretty straightforward counting situation. You can know that there's 1 mine here, and there's 3 mines in here, and there's 1 mine in those 2, and that totals 5 mines. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. That means that all of these 6, cannot be mines. So you can go ahead and clear all of them, mark that as a mine, mark that as a mine. Obviously, because these 2 aren't, then these 2 squares are the only other 2 that this 3 is touching, so those 2 have to be mines, which means that has to be a mine, and the only question is which 2 of these 3 are going to be mines, but you'll easily be able to figure that out once you've uncovered all those squares and marked all those mines. And just to make that clear, I've marked all of those mines here in this screenshot so that you can see what it looks like. All right, in this situation, we have 5 mines left in the game, and let's count up where the mines can be. So starting with this 4, we have 2 more in these 4 covered squares, and then with this 3, we know there's 1 there, and with both of these 4s, either of them, we know that 1 of the mines is here. So counting again, totaling that up, that's 2, 3, 4 mines, but we know there's 5 total, and then there's only 1 square that we haven't looked at. We know that there's exactly 4 mines in all of these up here, and since there's 5 total, that means that that one has to be a mine. So you can go ahead and mark it, and then uncover that one, and you're off to the races. And just to show you how this one worked in practice, I apparently did take screenshots of how it panned out. So marking the mine there and uncovering that square, which leads to a quick win in that situation, all because we counted up the mines. Okay, this is, I think, the last counting example that I'm going to give you. Here we see that we've got these, 5 mines, all marked green. I've, again, used the hint function in the Minesweeper Go app, and it has told us that all 5 of these are safe. How does it know that? I'm not exactly sure how the algorithm works, but I assume it's using some kind of counting like we are going through now, because, for example, you start with this 3 or this 1. We know that 1 of these 3 has to be a mine, and then with this 3, 1 of those 2, these 2, has to be a mine, and then because of this 2, 1 of these has to be a mine. So if you mark all the others as safe, because that's 1, 2, and 3 here, and there's only 3 left in the whole game, then obviously all of these are going to be safe. And you might have also noticed even that this one is going to be safe as well. The algorithm didn't explicitly tell you, although I bet it could figure that out if it had wanted to. So again, looking at this situation without all this green here, you'd pretty much be stuck if you were just trying to, look at these patterns or anything. Like, there's really nothing you can do. But then you realize, oh, there's only 3 mines left, and there's a heck of a lot of interior covered squares here. Let's try counting up, what's left, and you can find out that just accounting for the 3 mines that are left, none of these 5 interior ones can be mines. So you can open them up, and that will likely help you out a lot. All right, true to my word, I am not going to go through any more examples for you, but I do have some more examples handy, so I thought I would just throw them out there for people to practice on and see if they can figure them out based on counting, or maybe you can find some other way using patterns or something. But here's example number 1. You can pause the screen as long as you need and try to look at that. I will post the answers in a later video, I think, but feel free to comment with what you think the answers are. And I will also have a imager album of these examples and a link in the description so that you can just look at those if you prefer that way. So anyway, here's the first example I'm not going to give you the answer to now. Here is a second, and a third, a fourth, fun when these happen in beginner games. And here's the last other example that I have for you to see if you can figure out on your own. So again, feel free to post in the comments your solutions to any of these 5 final examples that I'm leaving to you all for homework. Or feel free, obviously, to ask any questions, critiques, etc. Subscribe if you feel like it, and I will see you in another video.